All right, so they hack into my phone. There they go. There they go. There they go. 4335. There they go. Right? There they go. You know, I'm talking to the bus driver and they hacked my phone. It's a good thing I looked down too. I was like, because I knew it. I said, you know what? Let me make sure that my phone is still recording, because whenever they start attacking me like this is what they do. That's why I had to end the other video, because I said to myself, you know what? Let me end the video. So that way I can show you guys, you know, what it is that they did. So they're not going to get to end the video itself and then the video won't record. But I want you to see the surveillance, right? The targeting, okay? The criminal behavior of the New York Predator Department, right? They are a bunch of criminals. And because they got a gun and a badge, that's why they continue to do what they do. But like I said, I am one black man. You will never put me back into that fight or flight phenomenon, because I will always be in the fight. Always. Always. And you can go ahead with your passive aggressive attacks, because I have a right to defend myself. And that's why I document, to show you guys. These are predators. This is what they do. This is who they are, right? And we want to believe everything that they say, because we are believers, right? And I keep saying they have been removing our kings and queens off of the chessboard strategically in ways that most of us do not understand and do not want to understand because of our belief in mind. But when I can get to show you guys exactly what it is that they do, and they are caught, they will retaliate, because that is who they are. And I like I said, I don't say things. I don't have to make up lies about these people, right? I don't got to do none of that, because they have shown themselves to be liars, untrustworthy, criminals, and yet we still believe them. We as black people. America voted to not, voted not to agree on the enslavement of African people being the gravest crime in modern history, right? This is a nation that has black citizens, that have black people, that black people have helped this nation become what it is. And we're watching how this administration is dismantling, right, a lot of the progress made by black people. The Supreme Court, same way. These people use other groups of people to take away and take away and literally erase the effort that black people made and contribute. And like I said, I am not going to let them get away with it. You know, when they use Asians to end affirmative action, when they're lying to our women about financial support in terms of entrepreneurship, and they lie to our women, right? They keep us dangling, right? They keep, not necessarily to keep us, but they put the carrots in front of our faces, right? Something that we cannot attain, but we just have to believe. It's right there, it's right there, it's right there. And we tend to think, because the very few of us are given certain opportunities. You know, I'm not talking about the athletes, right? Because they have a natural gift, so, you know, I mean, the opportunity is going to be there for them. But I'm talking about whether we're in the financial market, or whether we're in the financial market, whether we're in other forms of business. You know, I was watching the video, and the video says, black leaders are shocked about what's going on. And I'm like, what black leaders? You know, I'm saying, I'm like, what black leaders? You know, who they call black leaders is not black leaders. We need to understand what true leadership is, right? We don't have black leaders because we don't have black people who are willing to do what has to be done for our people to progress. We don't have black leaders. We have people who get into certain industries and they succeed, you know, and they think that they are one of the group or one of the members, but not really, because these people are just waiting. They're waiting, they're planning, they're implementing, they're constructing, they're creating, right? And now you see that their plans have come to fruition, right? And now you see in corporate spaces where they're rolling back DEIs. And these same black people who've worked with these white people for decades, right? Eat with them, drink with them, sleep with them, are now beginning to wake up and realize that these people never really care. They were not their friends. You have to understand the deep-seated hatred of white people towards black people, okay? And it isn't an unaware hatred, right? It isn't based on your skin color, right? I mean, that's part of it. But it's based on economics. It's based on the fact that they could not maintain slavery, right? And they could not keep black people from fighting for their rights. And like I said, ever since the Civil Rights Movement, when black Americans show the world what America truly is and what it is like, right? They have implemented this plan going forward. It is those at the top. It is the elites, the billionaires, the millionaire class, right? When I talk about their engagement in cognitive warfare in the black community so they can become expert at it, right? When it comes to how they can become expert at surveillance, our community and our people are used as tools so they can develop these tactics and then implement it within other nations. Okay, like I said, I'm not saying this just to say it. All right, I'm saying it because it's true. Go and research. Go and look at what they do within our community. How they do it. Right, the use of secret technology to surveil us, to manipulate us. Right, the use of psychological manipulation. Right, the use of cognitive warfare and neurocognitive warfare. Right, like you said, you have to start looking at the reality, because these people are going to put our descendants back into slavery. Or at least they're going to try, but it's never going to happen. So we need to start to have a militaristic mindset, a revolutionary mindset. All right, and we need to have our martyrs, just like how they have their martyrs, right? That when they do these things to us, then we have every right, and we should be justified in doing it back to them. And I use the word justify. I don't usually like to use that word, but I should say we have every right to do to them, as Malcolm X says, by any means necessary what they do to us. We don't go looking to bother them. We don't go looking to engage in psychological manipulation against them. That's the one thing that they can't say about black people. And when a black person retaliates, it is because of what they have done to that individual. Right? It's because we don't attack them because they're white, but they attack us because we're black. That's the difference. Right? We defend ourselves. That's the difference. They attack us because of who we are. All right? So again, when they want to talk about me being racist, it's another lie, another deception, because I say it all the time. I said I will respect those who respect me. I will love those who love me. I will champion those who champion for me and my people. I'll champion for you and your people. Look. Look. I'm telling you. That's what they do. They want to feel like they're justified in surveilling and this and that, when they're the ones that's doing the antagonizing. Like I said, so whatever they do to me, I hope it's being done to them. Look, you over there. Yeah, later, buddy. Fuck out of here. All right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. I'm not afraid of the truth. They are. I don't got to make up lies about them. The fact that my story never changes, the fact that I have to prove what I say, the fact that I had to literally study and observe and research what it is that they do. Like I said, in the system, you're always going to be guilty before you're innocent, right? This is what we have to understand, how the language is used to manipulate us into believing something that is not true, right? If you were innocent first, they wouldn't come and arrest you, okay? If you were innocent first, they would do their diligence and investigate, right? But in this system, which is meant to exploit, to capitalize, and a lot of times to criminalize us, it is because of what they're doing. They get to say what's right and what's wrong, right? They'll tell you that's wrong, and they'll go and they do the same thing, but it's right for them to do, right? Because, again, of the position that they're in. Bob Marley said you can't expect justice from a system run by criminals, right? But you cannot expect protection and the rule of law by criminals in position of authority. And so you got to call them out, right? We've been asleep for too long, and they're banking on the fact that we're going to continue to be asleep because we are unaware. We're not conscious, right? And this, when you look at cognitive warfare and what they can do and how they do it, when you look at the villainization of human beings, right? How come they don't villainize Epstein and all the people on his list of those who engage in some of the worst atrocities against children, women, black people, because they were hunting black people, right? No, because we love them because they have money, they have status. And like I said, my people who claim to be religious and believe in Jesus, but look how they worship the wealthy. Look how they worship the people who Jesus said that they have less of a chance of getting into heaven than a needle going through than a thread going through the eye of a needle. Right? Look at how they worship them. Look at how their pastors act. Look at how the churches are, the black churches. Look at the tomfoolery and the buffoonery that goes on. How they keep our people dumbed down. Right? How they engage in the removal of knowledge from the minds of our people. While the world is moving ahead, we are moving backwards. And it's not just black people in America, but what the wealthy elites have done is now begin to take knowledge from everybody in America. Right? You guys will see. You guys will see exactly what we as TI has been talking about. You guys are manipulated into thinking that it is okay for them to microchip people, right? I keep saying when these people have an agenda, they're going to create the scenarios and the situation in which they will manipulate you and I so they can implement their agenda, right? So when I was watching a video of a 7-month-old getting fatally shot in a stroller, who you think is doing this? Like I said, you got to look beyond the veil, right? You got to pull back that curtain. And the only way you can do it is if you do your research, if you understand what it is that they do, how they do these things, how they manipulate each other, how they manipulate us, and how we manipulate each other. We have to understand that, okay? So they're not going to come in and say, well, we need to implement this program and that program and that program. But they're the ones that are creating the situation and the issues behind the scenes. They're doing it. They're doing it. But we have yet to realize this. We talk about leadership. Here they come. If we talk about leadership, right? I always got to go confront them, right? At least walk there. When we talk about leadership, right? They send the Jewish patrol, the Crown Heights Hasidic patrol. Let me tell you. Like I said. All right, so it's a reason, I keep showing you, when they do this stuff, they try to make it seem like I'm some violent person. I'm not a violent person, right? But you are not going to get me to be docile while you continue to invade my privacy. You continue to do things, hack into my accounts and stuff like that, right? You continue to get your community criminals to engage in stalking and manipulation and stuff like that. No, you're not going to, no. See, they're the stalkers. But because they got a gun and a badge, oh, they're not stalking me. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And the reason why they do it, because they know that now I have a hatred for their ass, so I'm not going to go to them and file a complaint. Right? That's why they do what they do. So I want you to understand how they do these things to take away your ability as a person to be safe and secure in your home. Right? That they can conspire against your rights. That they can stalk you. Right? That they can illegally track you. And think that they can get away with it. And the only redress that we have as TI is to expose them in the manner in which we are exposing them. Because let me tell you something, these people will go through, there isn't anything that they would not do to prevent exposure. There isn't any, and listen to me carefully, there isn't anything that they would not do to prevent exposure and to be held accountable. Okay? So yeah, I understand the way they think. See, they think that they understand how I think, but and for the most part they do, because they condition me to think a certain way. Right? You know what I'm saying? But what they didn't know about me is that I had the ability to see what it is that they do. And they probably do. They probably know that. Right? They probably know that. Right? Because like I said, they're deeply into researching our genetics, into our DNA, into identifying certain traits within us. Right? You know what I'm saying? Pacifying our shit. Like I say, when you look at nations in the West, black nations that fought colonial masters for centuries, they are the poorest in the nation. See, this is why black Americans will always be disenfranchised. This is why Haiti will always be in the position that it's in. This is why you have in Jamaica, there will always be some of the highest crime in the entire Caribbean. Because when you look at the people who were, the Africans who were sent to those nations, these were the warriors class. Okay, then you look at an island like Barbados, in which, you know, they had some of the most brutal slave masters, slave owners, right? That when the slave that did not want to obey, the enslaved individual, I should say slave, but the enslaved prisoner of war, right, fought back, they sent them to Barbados to do what? To buck break. It was the only island in the Caribbean that they sent. Even they'll send the enslaved prisoners of war from America to Barbados. Go read the history. Go read the history. Right? And so what they've done is create within those people a pacify gene. Right? And an enslaved mind that they don't know that they have an enslaved mind. Okay? But like I said, I will defend myself against these criminals, against these predators, right? And just because they got a gun and a badge, that does not mean that they get to do whatever they want to do. Right? They have gotten away with a lot of things too far. So far, they have. When I watch a video and I see a police officer arresting a man for being drunk and he isn't drunk, right? When I hear them make up shit in their mind, oh, I think he might be on medication and he was drinking. Oh, now I smell marijuana, right? Who is the people who are delusional? Who are the ones with the mental illness and they walk around carrying a gun and a badge? This is why they won't classify racism as a mental illness, right? Because you want to know, once they classify it as a mental illness, right? Now they got to look within themselves, right? So they will never do it. Just like how they will never admit that the transatlantic slave trade was the worst, greatest crime against humanity in modern times. Right? They'll say it was the genocide of the European Jews. You know You know, I mean, and we as black people, we love this nation and we believe in this nation more than white people, right? The reason why white people don't believe in this nation anymore, because anytime they see other group of people elevate, arise within the society, you know, there's always going to be that backlash, right? It is in their DNA. When black people built towns in America, white people tore it down. They lied to tore it down, burn it down, right? They destroy black towns that were successful to build highways, to build parks. Okay? When black people gain economic upliftment, they engage in predatory practices using the financial markets. You know, the tactics have changed, but it's still the same. It's still the same. It is to not allow black people to have any sort of economic or political power, right? Because when you are independent of their control, right? They do not want that. They have to have a need. They are not, put like this, they are not willing to give up their hold over black people. They're not. There's too much money to be made from black bodies, right? Whether it be the prison institutions, the psychiatrists, the psychological institutions, right? The financial markets, right? The medical, pharmaceutical markets, right? This is what they do. I keep saying there's a reason why they will never get rid of poverty, but they're willing to spend $600 billion a year on services for the poor instead of spending $150 billion a year to eradicate poverty. You know, when I give you guys this example, I'm giving it to you so that you understand the capitalist system, right? That it has to create poor people. It has to create criminals because it profits off of it, right? And we go around blaming each other, not looking at the system for what it does to us. Isn't that something? But we will go and we'll hug a white racist police officer who shoot a black man by walking into his apartment and killing him, right? And then you have a black judge and other black family member hugging her because they've been convinced by the church and these white racist bastards that they shouldn't be angry, that they shouldn't speak out about what it is that they do, right? And we are the boo-boo the clown. We are the dumbasses. We are the Dans, the dumbass Negropeans. Okay? So, you know, I mean, let me tell you something. I love my people, but every time they remove our kings and queens from off the chessboard, you know, is more and more pawns that are going to remain. And you know what they do with pawns, right? You sacrifice the pawns. You use the pawns. All right? With that being said, talk to you guys in the next video.